Hello! Today I'm going to show you how to recreate a wound from a reference picture using Artex, FX design colors and some different kinds of bloods. First we're going to start off with Artex. Within the package you will have two little pots labeled A and B. What is very important is that you never mix up the lids, because once these two components mix, they're gonna start a chemical reaction and you have about 6 minutes time to create your desired effect. I like to keep them separated so I don't accidentally mix them up. And then I have two spatulas that are the same size, because we need to use the same amount of each component for it to work. And as long as they don't touch, nothing will happen. So once I'm happy with the ratio, I start to mix them together. 6 minutes is a long time if you just want to create like a small cut or something. That's why sometimes it makes sense to just give it a little bit of time before you put it onto the skin. What you also can do to make it cure faster is use a hair dryer, and so this actually cures a little bit faster if there's heat involved. I'm just gonna take a little bit of the Artex, just place it onto my arm. And I'm just gonna put it roughly in that shape and in that area where I want that cut to be. And I try to keep edges here where the Artex fades into my arm as nice as possible, because this you cannot really redo. So we try to have like a very flat angle so it just melts into the skin. And also I already kind of trace the shape. You will need to redo this a couple of times because it's just gonna melt back. So you have a little bit of time to play around. And at some point you will feel that the Artex doesn't really smooth out anymore. So it will become a little bit more tacky. And this is the time where you can finalize your details. I'm gonna put a little bit more texture inside. And then I just build up the outer edges. And now we can see that the Artex starts to become much more like a rubber, so it actually now stays in place. So this is a very short time frame where you can finalize details. Don't go too crazy, because at some point it just starts to tear, and you should not touch the edges in that stage because this will give you bad texture. But you can go inside of that wound and rip the silicone a little bit here, because here we can have uneven texture. If you're bold and you want to experiment, you can take a sponge like this. This has like a pore texture, and very gently press it on top. This will mattify and give you a little bit of a skin texture, but really only do this when you know that it's already cured, but only just a little bit sticky. And then we wait a little bit, we give it a little bit time to cure completely. Moving on, we're gonna powder this, because right now we can still see a lot of shine. Just gonna use a little bit of translucent powder. This is TL1, so it does not have any color. Looking good. Since for me this is a good color match, I could just leave it like this, but you can always use FX design color. I will show you a little bit, not to change my skin tone, but just to even it out a little bit. I will take some alcohol and I'm gonna wet the colors that I need, and then with a toothbrush, just gonna grab a little bit of the color brick. Brick is a great color for any type of irritation. Just even giving it a little bit of texture with different colors can help it blend into your skin more. Make sure you use a lot of alcohol for this. So you want very, very transparent layers. This is just a brush with a little bit of alcohol just to blend away some of those sprinkle textures here. And in the reference picture, there's also a little bit of that irritation going like a scratch from this cut. Good. For the inside, we now need to fill it bright red. So anytime there's like a very fresh wound, you will mostly see very, very bright red first. So I'm just mixing some colors together here, try to match roughly what I see in the image. And then I'm just gonna paint this. We want to give the inside a little bit of a base color. If you want to show a little bit more of the texture that's inside, just use a brush without any color on, just a little bit of alcohol. Just rub over the texture, and this will remove a little bit of the color. And now I want to add a little bit of a light perimeter right around here. This will help make that area pop even more. And for this, I'm just gonna use a tiny bit of parchment, which is the lightest color we have here. Brush over the edge, basically to highlight that edge over here. That creates the illusion of this being raised, and the cut looks even deeper. Okay, and now for the blood. I will start with using drying blood in a color light, and this will be my first layer. This sticks best to silicone, and since we used Artex, which is silicone based, it's best to use alcohol based products on top. So once this has dried down, you lose a little bit of the body of the blood, so it doesn't look like there's a puddle of blood in there. It's just like gives a nice base layer. But I want this to be very juicy and full of fresh blood, so I'm gonna use HD blood now, also in the color light ethereal. And this has more of a gel consistency, so this will basically fill in little gaps and stay in the wound. Okay, and here you have it. Big open gash. Artex is a really great product. It is durable, it is movable, it looks real. This is basically almost like the reference picture. Now we're gonna play around with it a little bit more, add some blood. So what you can do to make it more realistic, you put a little bit of blood on that wound and then pretend that you grabbed it, because that's basically the instinct we have. And then you can play around with this in different layers, make it more messy, add some liquid bloods on top, like that, make it run out of the wound. So very messy, but blood is messy. So if you made it to the end, thank you for watching. If you have any questions, please leave a comment, and I hope to see you in the next video. Bye.